Hello, Stampin' friends. I'm trying to figure out why we have a bad shadow down here. Let me get the light a little better. Okay, I think that's better. Look. Yeah, I think you can see that well. Ooh, it's a terrible glare on that, but that won't be there for long. I'll switch places. There we go. So today, this is Lisa from Live and Let Stamp. And today I'm going to be demonstrating the technique of masking to make this card using Scenic Pumpkin Patch. This is a really cool set, and I love sets like this where you can like combine them to make little scenes. So you see the little pumpkins with the fence, and you can make the ground. And this is another card I'm working on to kind of make more of a scene. So I'm not going to be demonstrating this one today, but maybe I'll put a reel on or something to demonstrate that for you coming up soon. Because it's a lot of fun to play with it and just see what kind of things that you can make. And the masking technique can help with that. There we go. Okay, and by the way, this one's going to be on I think a pecan pie card base. I'm going to put a little sentiment right here to cover up where I accidentally dropped the stamp and marked that right there. And so it goes. All right, but let's go ahead and make this card. So I'm going to start with a old olive card base. And as usual, I'm just making a standard A2 card. So I'm going to cut this at 5.5. And then I'm going to score it at 4.25. Get that blade out of the way so I can use my scoring blade. And you see that makes a nice score there. And grab my bone folder to make it lay nice and flat. Okay, so there's my card base. I always kind of feel like, okay, it doesn't open easily that way. So this is going to be the front because, you know, it's always a little bit off and I like to look and see which way it's easiest to open. Still not sure why I have a shadow there. Oh, wait. No, that's not it. Oh, well. Onward. So the next thing I'm going to do, I've got this, just this little mat of white because I thought it really helped kind of make the main part of the focal point, this banner of the card, kind of pop a little if you had that little mat. So that's just a 5.25 by 4 size for the bottom of this beautiful embossed layer. Now to look at that, it's embossed leaves, but it's really cool because the embossing folder isn't solid leaves. It's got like this fall. So you can do it that way, or you can do it that way, or you can do it that way, whatever suits your card. That's my favorite way. So this is a 3D. I'm gonna need to make this gonna be just a little bit smaller than that white mat. So this is gonna come in at 5 1/8. By 3 7/8. So I'm just pulling 1/8 of an inch off so that white just barely peeks through. Now, so I decide how I want it, and I definitely need to pay attention. So this is the low part, so it's going to push through. So this is the front, and I want the leaves to kind of cascade from top left to bottom right. So I'm going to put that in like that. Oh, I don't want this empty space here though. You see where there'll be empty space? So I'm actually going to pull it over so it has leaves all the way. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and run this through my embossing machine. It's just a #1 plate and then the folder, which you want to put through on the fold side first, and then your 4 plate. So I'm just gonna run and do that super quick. Doesn't take long at all. Just line it. And look how pretty that is. I've used this on so many fall cards because it's so pretty, and it is still currently available. It's been out for a while, but you can still get it. Okay, so that's that layer. Working my way up, then I have this old olive strip. So I'm gonna cut that, and that strip is 3.5 by 1.5. So I'm gonna go 3.5 by 1.5. Okay, and that's gonna go under that banner. Okay, right there, perfect. So now I'm gonna make this banner piece. So I have a piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to get my foam mat, because the stamp I'm going to use for the sentiment is from the iconic imagery. There are no sentiments with the Scenic Pumpkin Patch, so you do need to have another sentiment stamp. So I'm using Grateful, and there it is right there. And I'm going to stamp that in Old Olive. Now, I know I'm going to be cutting it out with this Nested Essentials die, the large banner. So I'm just going to kind of put this on the white cardstock, and I'm just going to kind of trace around it. It won't show, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but it'll help me like make sure all of my things I stamp are in the right spots. So that kind of gives me a frame for what I'm doing. So let's start with Grateful. I'm gonna place that on a block. I think I'm going to use this block. It's kind of big, but it'll work. And I'm using Old Olive. This color, just for note, has been around since I started stamping with Stampin' Up products, and that's over 20 years. So this is an oldie but a goodie, obviously. It is a great, great color. Tap, 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 tap. And place that stamp. Okay. Next, I'm going to stamp these pumpkins. Now, with masking, I'm going to be using a mask to put the fence behind the pumpkins and the ground underneath so that it doesn't show like through the pumpkin, like the pumpkins are transparent. So you have to stamp the foreground first. So I have to do the pumpkins first. And that's about a 1/2 inch under the F of Grateful. So I'm doing this in, what else? Pumpkin pie. I want to say this color's been around since the beginning too. Not positive about that, but it's been around a long time because this is one of the old-fashioned stamp pads from way long ago. Okay, so I'm gonna get some nice amount of pumpkin pie there and do that about a 1/2 inch down. Okay, and I love this set because it gives you also the stems on a separate stamp so you can make those green. And I decided to do that in Mossy Meadow. You could do the Old Olive if you don't have another green color, but I just wanted to make it a little different. And I also, on this one, I didn't stamp off, but I think it's a little too green. And on this one, I did stamp off, and I kind of like that look better with it not being quite so dark and solid. So I am going to stamp off. So I'm just going to get a sheet of blank copy paper here. And then I'm going to, okay, it's going to go like that. And this is why the stamps have to be photopolymer. You have to be able to see through them. I'm going to stamp off and then line it up. It doesn't have to be perfect. It makes it kind of cute when it's not perfect. that'll work. Okay, now the masking. So you see, I need the fence behind the pumpkins. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my masking paper, which comes in a package like this. You get 12 sheets in a package. And it's basically sticker paper, okay? It's sticker paper. But it's like a sticky note. It's removable. And, I mean, I'll show you why. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp another pumpkins and stems just like the first one. Same exact stamps. And really, you could do this in any color, but I'm going to do it in this color, the same color. Stamp doesn't have to be oh so perfect for this because this is just our mask. It's not going to stay on the card. I'm not even going to stamp off on this one. Yeah, I am. Because you can see through the stamp a little better. Okay, like right about there. Okay. So you see, it looks identical. So then what you do is you take your paper snips, your nice sharp paper snips, and you cut really close all the way around this. And I'm not going to do that because it would take a long time. So I have one already done. Voila! So all I did was take my snips, cut around it, and now I'm going to peel off the sticker. And there are like lines on the masking paper that, you know, that help you, but they're few and far between. They really need more. I should put that in the Stampin' Up! Suggestion box. Now I'm going to lay it right on top as exact as I can. Okay. Now I'm ready to do my fence. Now I'm doing this in crumb cake, which will match the layer that I embossed the leaves on. So that's the advantage of crafting and making cards with Stampin' Up! Because you can buy everything that coordinates. Okay, so I'm going to ink up my stamp pad and stamp my fence. Put it right about there. Okay. Now I'm going to switch to my, whoa, sorry about that. I'm going to switch to this ground stamp, which I haven't pre-loaded on my block because I was already using this. It's the H block, by the way. Very useful for things like this. Pro tip, make sure you put it on the right way up because I have done it many a time with these photopolymer that I put it the wrong direction and then I just stamped this like thing with no detail. Okay, this is also in crumb cake. So I'm just gonna stamp, just gonna ink up my stamp. Sorry, this is a little awkward. And then I'm just going to put some ground underneath my pumpkins, like so. Okay, you could even like come over here, put a little more on, put a little here. Okay. Because, you know, you want the ground to look kind of groundish. It doesn't need to be uniform. Now, watch what happens when I pull off the mask. Awesome! So, now you have your pumpkins in the foreground, and you have the fence in the background, and you have the ground underneath. And you can reuse these. If you reuse them a lot, they do start getting a lot of ink on them, and they kind of get like soft, the paper gets soft and they tear eventually, but you can use them over and over. So this is now ready to cut. So this is going to get cut. I'm going to run this through the die cutter. And my sandwich for this is a 1, 2, 3. Okay, sandwich. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to turn this sideways. And then my die is going to go right about there. And you can tape that down with washi tape, or you can live dangerously like I usually do. This is how I usually do it. Put it on and push. Okay, gonna run it through, run it through. Ooh, I grabbed paper on the bottom. That wasn't good. Crank it through, and when we're done, we now have this beautiful little banner. Isn't it pretty? So now we're ready to put our card together. Awesome. So we have our card base, and on that, we're going to put this white. You were probably wondering, why does she turn it over? It's like white on both sides. But sometimes the cutter gives you a little different edge, or sometimes, you know, there might be a spot on one side that you weren't expecting to be there. So I always check both sides. We're going to put that one on. Look all around. And now we're going to do our... Again, I put on a lot of adhesive on the embossed parts because of the embossing. Sometimes the paper will be like warped and you want it down. So there's that. Now this goes here. I'm going to look at that. That's about right. And I'm going to use my trusty pencil because I'm going to apply the glue, and I'm using the Tombow liquid glue, and I just want it, you know, where the green's going to be. That's plenty. Fabulous. I'm going to elevate this with some Stampin' Dimensionals. So we're going to put on those foam dots. I find them so much easier to get with tweezers. Pull off the backing. Place it on the card. Let me see how high I placed it. Yeah, right about there. And the final touch is the bling, of course, of course. So I'm using this set of bling, these frosted dots in Cajun Craze, Copper Clay, Mossy Meadow, and Wild Wheat. And they are called faux glass dots. So they're not glass, but they're supposed to look like they're glass. This take your pick tool with the paddle end is your best friend for doing this, because they just go right on the paddle. Yikes. Or not. This is a smaller one, so I'm going to put that one here. I'm on a larger one. Let me get this one for the corner. And then I'm going to switch. I'm going to do two colors on this. I'm going wild and crazy. A large one there, and then a smaller one over here. And as I'm deciding where to put these, I try to think of balance. So, you know, there's a lot on this side, kind of weighing the card down. So that's why I put 3 pieces of the faux glass dots on the left, and I like one up here in the upper corner where it's blank because you don't have any embossing. I just think it looks pretty that way. So the inside of the card, I also use the, excuse me, the Scenic Pumpkin Patch, and I used this stamp, and it also has the tops there. So that's how you can make and decorate the inside. You can decorate the envelope. There's just so much that you can do when you stamp to make really pretty presentations for your recipients. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed this video. I do have a YouTube channel you can subscribe to. And I thank you very much. I really appreciate you. I'm grateful for you.